You know that feeling, right? When you've completely missed something crucial, not just a small thing, but something significant, something that, well, when you look back, it was staring you right in the face. Like that glaring typo in an important email after you hit send. Oh, the awkward follow-up email. Or maybe that friend's really subtle hint about a surprise party that you just totally bombed, leading to a truly memorable, but maybe not in the best way moment. That kind of gut-wrenching feeling of regret, that sudden, aha, oh no moment, when you realize you just weren't clued in. Your internal radar was like completely off. That's just a tiny, relatable glimpse into what we're diving into today. But what if there was a way to consistently sharpen that internal radar, to, consistently catch those crucial details, understand what they mean, and maybe even anticipate problems before they blow up? That's exactly what we're talking about today. We're going far beyond just paying attention. We're looking at a concept that can literally change your outcomes, whether it's just navigating daily life or making really high-stakes decisions. Okay, let's really unpack this. Today, we're taking a deep dive into situational awareness. It's that crucial, often overlooked ability that can be the absolute difference between, say, anticipating a problem and being caught completely flat-footed. The difference between thriving and just kind of surviving. It's a skill that's been meticulously honed, studied really, in the most demanding environments you can imagine: military ops, aviation, emergency services, high-level security. But here's the kicker, the really interesting part. It's absolutely vital for every single one of us in our daily lives, often without us even realizing its full power, or sometimes the cost when we don't have it.
And what's fascinating here is that situational awareness, which, yeah, you'll often hear called essay, it's not just some vague idea, are sources which come from military and security fields, also call it CS, for conciencia situacional, the Spanish term. We'll probably use both essay and CS interchangeably. They mean exactly the same thing. And it's formally defined as the capacity to perceive the relevant elements in your environment within a specific volume of time and space, then to comprehend their meaning, and crucially, to project their status into the near future. So it's far from fuzzy. It's structured, almost a scientific way, really, of interacting with your world to make sure you're making effective decisions.
Right. So our mission today, then, is pretty clear. We want to equip you, our listener, to be profoundly well-informed about your own situational awareness. We're going to give you the practical tools, the frameworks, those deep insights to not just sharpen, but maybe even master your internal radar. So you're not just reacting to things happening to you, but you're actively anticipating, maybe even shaping your experiences, whether that's on your daily commute, in a critical business meeting, or, in those really high stakes moments where safety, yours or someone else's, depends entirely on your ability to be present or prepared. We're aiming for those genuine aha moments today, the ones that can transform how you see, interpret, and interact with everything around you, giving you a real tangible edge. So how do we actually build this sophisticated internal radar? How do we go from just kind of existing in a place to truly owning our understanding of it?
Well, we've got a fantastic, globally recognized framework. It's from M.R. Ensley, brilliant researcher, and it breaks down situational awareness into 3 fundamental levels. They're hierarchical. Think of it like a pyramid, maybe,
where each level builds on the one below it, refining the information, leading to a really comprehensive and importantly actionable understanding of any situation. Okay, let's start right at the bottom, the base of that pyramid, level 1. Perception. This is where it all begins. It's about collecting raw data, using all your available senses, sight, sound, maybe even subtle changes in smell or touch. And it's not just passive, like letting information wash over you. No, not at all. Our sources really emphasize it's an active process. A deliberate act of observing every single element in your environment, looking for anything relevant, anything that might indicate a risk or something significant going on, and all while actively trying to filter out distractions. As the sources put it so well in Spanish, it's ver lo que está ahí. It means it's seeing what's there. But that seeing is way more active, more engaged than you might first think. Think about your daily commute again, or maybe walking through a really busy public space, or even just sitting in your office right now. Are you truly actively observing? Like that unfamiliar car parked kind of weirdly down the street, does it seem out of place? Or the person who seems to be lingering a bit too long by the entrance without any clear reason? What about that abandoned package on a bench that definitely wasn't there a minute ago? Or maybe a window left open in a restricted area that should absolutely be shut tight? Or are you just glancing, letting your eyes pass over these things without truly perceiving them, without registering their potential meaning? This level, level 1, is where your inner detective really comes alive. It's about consciously asking, what subtle cues am I gathering right now? What data points are hitting my senses? It's really about being present, not just physically, but mentally tuned in.
Exactly. And what's really key here is understanding it's an active search, not just passive reception. The source material, especially for security pros, couldn't be clearer on this. It translates to constant active observation of their entire area of responsibility, their patch, so to speak. It's noticing that unknown car on the corner, yes, but also the nuance. Why does it feel unknown? Is it the model, the way it's parked, something else? It's observing someone waiting unusually long, not just that they're waiting, but maybe their body language. Where are they looking? What are they carrying? An odd sound, a window ajar, in a place it shouldn't be. At this stage, it's just pure data. You're confirming its existence, its state. You're scanning your environment with a purpose, asking, am I consciously aware of all the signals? Have I really scanned this whole area? Who is here? What are they doing? What raw data is available? And errors here at this foundational level. If you miss a critical piece of information right at the start, well, they inevitably cascade up through the other levels. It fundamentally compromises your entire essay, and that directly impacts your ability to make good decisions. It's really the most vulnerable point for breakdown.
Okay, so we've perceived these individual elements at level 1. We saw the car, noted the person, heard the weird sound. How do we move beyond just raw observation? How do we understand the story those observations are telling us? That's where we climb up to level 2, comprehension. This is the stage where you process it all. You synthesize, integrate that raw info into a coherent whole. You figure out its true significance. Our sources nail this jump perfectly. No pasa con ver. Hay que entender qué implica lo que ven. Basically, it's not enough just to see. You have to understand what you see implies. Comprehension goes way beyond just being aware of the information. It includes understanding the importance of those elements, especially in relation to your goals, which in a security context is always about protection and safety, right? Let's go back to that lingering person we talked about. At level 1, you saw them, okay? At level 2, you're not just registering their presence anymore. You're asking the critical questions now, like, is that just a resident patiently waiting for an Uber, maybe checking their phone, totally innocent? Or based on other cues, maybe they keep scanning the building's entry points, they're not really looking at their phone, they seem to be trying not to be noticed. Could this person be a potential intruder? Exploring the area, assessing vulnerabilities, looking for an opportunity. You're actively connecting the dots now, forming a holistic mental picture of the current situation. This is your aha moment, really. Transforming those disconnected raw data points into meaningful intelligence. It's about understanding the importance of those elements in relation to your objectives, evaluating their potential impact.
That's precisely where the critical work starts. You're moving from just a collection of facts to a narrative, a story. What's really insightful here is that our brains are incredibly efficient. They're constantly building mental shortcuts, templates. We call them mental models. These come from past experiences, from training. And these models let us quickly interpret new information. So, for instance, a seasoned security professional sees that person loitering. They don't just see a person. They instantly activate a pretty sophisticated, suspicious behavior mental model. And this model helps them understand the meaning of that perception. It automatically directs their focus to relevant details. Where are they looking, their posture, how they're dressed, are they carrying anything? But here's the critical insight and the potential danger. While these shortcuts save brain energy, they can also become powerful blinders if we don't regularly update or challenge them. Someone with less experience might perceive the exact same data but comprehend far less of its meaning. Why? Because their mental models aren't as developed. Or worse, they might apply an outdated or just plain incomplete model, leading to a total misinterpretation. At this level, you're really asking, okay, what do I truly understand about this situation based on everything I've observed? Is anything expected, or is something really out of place here? What is the significance of all these elements combined?
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and honestly quite transformative. Level 3. Projection. This is the top of pyramid. The pinnacle of situational awareness. The most advanced, most proactive level. It's not just about what's happening now or what it means. It's about anticipating future scenarios. It's about effectively predicting what's most likely going to happen next. And this prediction is based entirely on what you meticulously perceived back at level 1 and what you intelligently comprehended at level 2. You're basically developing a mental crystal ball, asking yourself, ¿Qué es lo más probable que suceda a continuación si no actúo? Or, what is most likely to happen next if I don't act? Or maybe if I do act in a certain way? Let's stick with our scenario. You've perceived the suspicious person. You've comprehended they might genuinely be a threat. Now, at level 3, you're not just observing anymore. You're actively projecting. You're asking, okay, if they keep walking towards that restricted entrance, what's their most likely next move? Will they try to force it? Try to tailgate someone legit? What's the most dangerous thing they could possibly do given their behavior so far?
And critically, you're asking, do I need to call for backup right now? Do I need to prepare to intervene myself? What are my pre-planned responses for this kind of situation? See, you're no longer just reacting to what is. You are proactively planning for what could be. This is your mental crystal ball, giving you those precious seconds, maybe minutes off of the difference maker to plan, prepare, and act effectively. It transforms you from just reacting to anticipating. You become a true guardian of safety, an architect of better outcomes.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, projection is what truly makes situational awareness proactive, not just responsive. It enables preparation, preemptive action. What's absolutely crucial to grasp, though, is that the accuracy of your projections. It entirely depends on how robust and clear your levels 1 and 2 were. I mean, if your initial perceptions were flawed, or maybe your comprehension was skewed by some bias you didn't recognize, then your projections are likely going to be inaccurate, and that leads to poor decisions. This is the stage where you anticipate consequences, where you meticulously plan your responses. It involves asking those critical, forward-looking questions like, what happens if I take this action? Or if I don't take action? Or what are the most probable outcomes here? And what's the absolute worst-case scenario? Unquote. In military and security fields, this often involves a formal process, identifying the most likely course of action MLCOA and the most dangerous course of action MDCOA of an adversary. This kind of foresight lets you prepare for multiple possibilities, pre-plan your responses, and position yourself to mitigate threats or maybe even exploit opportunities. A strong foundation in perception and comprehension is what makes accurate projection possible and powerfully effective. As our source material reminds us, an incomplete or just plain inaccurate mental model is the main enemy of correct comprehension and projection. It fundamentally alters your perceived reality, leading you to predict something that just isn't going to happen. Hashtag 1.4 CS is the unbreakable foundation for decision and action.
So what does this all mean for us, beyond the theory? These 3 levels: perception, comprehension, projection. They aren't just some academic exercise to memorize for a test. They are the critical, indispensable runway for every single decision you make and every action you take, especially in dynamic, fast-paced, stressful environments where, let's face it, the margin for error can be razor thin. The Ensley model shows this so vividly. Situational awareness in its entirety is the first absolutely essential step before any decision can be truly effective and before any action can be executed correctly.
What's profoundly clear here is that without robust situational awareness, any decision you make is going to be inherently deficient, almost by definition. Imagine trying to hit a target while you're blindfolded. That's making a decision without solid SA. Sure, you might hit something eventually, but it won't be accurate, and it definitely won't be intentional. You need to know precisely what's happening around you, that's perception, understand its implications in context comprehension, and then foresee the consequences of your potential actions projection to hit your mark accurately. Our sources really drive this point home. Recuerden siempre, la conciencia situacional es la base para tomar decisiones adecuadas. Es el primer paso. Always remember, situational awareness is the base for making adequate decisions. It is the first step. I mean, if you genuinely don't know what's going on or you don't understand what it means for your objectives and you can't predict what might happen next, how can you possibly formulate and execute a correct, timely, and effective decision? It's simply impossible. This is why mastering these 3 levels isn't just beneficial. It's absolutely crucial for effective, timely decision-making, whether you're a first responder, a pilot, a business leader, just, navigating your daily life. It's the difference between being proactive and constantly playing catch-up.
Okay, we built a pretty solid understanding now of what optimal situational awareness looks like. But let's be real, maintaining that sharp radar isn't always easy, is it? We all face these constant kind of insidious forces that try to dim it, to blur our perception, compromise our ability to comprehend and project, and often we don't even realize the erosion is happening until it's too late. These aren't always external threats either. Sometimes, the biggest enemies to our situational awareness are these silent saboteurs lurking within our own minds and bodies. Let's talk about one of the most common, pervasive enemies of our attention and perception. Our sources have this really vivid description for them. Distractions. They act like insectos en el parabrisas, like insects splattered all over your mental windshield, making it incredibly difficult to see clearly, to process the environment accurately. And these distractions, they can be both internal and external. each one vying for your precious cognitive resources. Internally, we're battling things like personal worries, our emotional state at the moment, that creeping feeling of fatigue, or even limiting internal dialogues, self-doubt. Externally, well, we face environmental noise, bad weather, the attitudes of people around us, or maybe the most common one today, those relentless phone notifications constantly pinging for our attention. Even a single seemingly minor distraction can powerfully monopolize your attention. It creates this phenomenon known as cognitive tunneling, where your focus just narrows drastically and you completely miss the overall broader picture. Think about that scenario we all know too well. You're trying to monitor your surroundings in a busy public place, maybe a train station, a crowded mall, but you're simultaneously checking your phone, scrolling social media, answering a text. In that moment, you're not just distracted. You are consciously, actively sticking a giant, opaque Post-it note right in the middle of your mental windshield, intentionally blocking out crucial environmental cues. The source material mentions that a single distraction can poderosamente llamar la atención, powerfully grab your attention. Makes it incredibly hard to keep that full peripheral essay. And it's not just one insect, right? Imagine the cumulative effect. A dozen, 100 little splatters across your view throughout the day. Your visibility, and therefore your essay, just drops dramatically.
Yeah, and that raises a really important question. How often are we, just in our daily lives, letting these insects accumulate on our mental windshield until our view isn't just obscured, it's completely opaque? Multitasking, for example, it's often celebrated, right? Seen as a sign of efficiency, especially at work. Yet the reality, cognitively speaking, is that multitasking actually fragments our attention. It breaks it into these tiny, inefficient slivers. And that severely degrades the quality of our situational awareness. A single notification, a fleeting worry, maybe an overheard bit of conversation, it can quickly lead to what psychologists call inattention blindness, where you literally fail to perceive even obvious threats or critical information because your core focus is just diverted elsewhere. The insidious accumulation of these distractions, both internal and external, it doesn't just reduce your capacity for making good decisions, it significantly increases your risk exposure. It's a constant active battle, really, to keep that mental windshield clean and transparent, to make sure you have the clearest possible view of your world.
Okay, beyond the external distractions, and maybe even more subtly dangerous, our own minds can be powerful saboteurs of situational awareness. We'll talk about complacency. This is that dangerous belief, often born from routine, that feeling that nothing ever happens here, or that a situation is just routine, therefore it must be safe. It's a critical enemy. It insidiously kills vigilance and, by extension, our SA. It's that dangerous assumption that just because things have been quiet, they'll always stay quiet. That past safety somehow guarantees future safety. You imagine a security professional working a late shift, seemingly calm building, night after night. They start thinking, it's 2 a.m., nothing ever happens here at this hour. That thought, which seems harmless enough, is actually complacency silently eroding their readiness. It's dulling their senses, making them fundamentally vulnerable to things they'd normally spot instantly. Their internal radar gets turned way down, not because of some external threat, but because of an internal story, a narrative of false security. And, well, further complicating things, our brains are always looking for efficiency. They rely heavily on mental shortcuts, heuristics they're called, and these well-worn mental models built from past experiences. Now, these are often incredibly efficient for navigating routine stuff, but here's a catch. If these models are incomplete or outdated or biased, they can significantly distort our perception and our comprehension, leading directly to critical errors in judgment. This can show up as confirmation bias, for example, where we unconsciously look for and interpret information in a way that confirms what we already believe. We actively filter out data that contradicts our existing ideas. Basically, we see what we expect to see, not necessarily what's truly there.
What's truly fascinating here, and yeah, quite dangerous, is that these aren't external threats we're talking about now. These are internal enemies, born from the very cognitive processes that are supposed to help us navigate the world. Your own brain, in its effort to be efficient, save energy, can actually work powerfully against your situational awareness if you're not deeply self-aware and vigilant. Biases can act like really selective filters for information, making you perceive what you expect to perceive rather than what's objectively there. The source material gives this vivid and frankly pretty alarming example. A soldier who's in a wood workshop environment misidentifies a pistol lying there as a drill. Why? Because his existing mental model for that environment was so strong, so focused on tools, his brain basically forced the new information, the pistol, into an existing, familiar, but ultimately wrong category. A drill. An incomplete or inaccurate mental model is, therefore, a principal enemy of correct comprehension and projection. It fundamentally alters your perceived reality. It can lead to catastrophic misinterpretations. Our mental maps, when they're flawed, they don't just lead us to misinterpret the terrain of a situation, they can lead us to entirely invent parts of it that aren't there. So avoiding complacency, actively challenging these ingrained mental models, consciously looking for evidence that disproves our assumptions, these are absolutely vital defenses for maintaining accurate essay.
So far, we've covered external distractions and the mind's internal traps. But let's not forget the profound impact our physical and mental state has on situational awareness. Our bodies and brains, they're completely interconnected systems, right? High stress, whether it's physical stress like intense noise, extreme heat or cold, even hunger or psychological stress like fear, pressure, anxiety, emotional turmoil, it severely impacts our attention, our working memory, and our overall ability to process information. And the same goes for physical and mental fatigue, which critically includes sleep deprivation. We all know how that feels. And also what we call cognitive overload, simply having too much information flooding in, or too many tasks demanding our attention all at once. All of these factors, they converge and lead to attentional narrowing, or sometimes called cognitive tunnel vision. Our focus becomes severely restricted, maybe just to one or two data points, and we often miss the broader, critical context entirely. Think about those times you've tried to recall complex procedures, maybe solve a tricky problem when you're just utterly exhausted after pulling an all-nighter, or trying to focus on one tiny crucial detail during an intense, loud, chaotic emergency situation. Your brain's processing capacity in those moments is severely constrained. It's almost like a computer running way too many programs at once, grinding to a halt. This makes it incredibly easy to miss crucial information, to misinterpret what you do perceive, or simply to forget important steps in a sequence. That feeling of being overwhelmed, like your brain just can't keep up, that directly attacks your ability to maintain a clear, comprehensive picture of the situation. It erodes all three levels of your essay.
And this raises an absolutely critical question. How do you maintain peak cognitive performance, and therefore peak situational awareness, when your own body and mind seem to be actively working against you? The source material highlights that elevated stress significantly increases your cognitive load. It severely limits your capacity to use working memory, that vital mental workspace where you hold and manipulate information in real time. Fatigue, as you mentioned, it reduces alertness and directly damages a whole range of cognitive processes. But it actually goes deeper than that. The source introduces a critical physiological concept called condition negra, or black condition. This isn't just, a slight dip in performance. It describes a state of catastrophic performance collapse. It happens when an individual's heart rate goes above approximately 175 beats per minute. At that threshold, the anterior brain, the part responsible for all our higher level functions like rational thought, complex problem solving, future projection, it essentially disconnects. What's technically profound here and really important to understand is that this is your ancient fight, flight, or freeze brain taking over completely. It bypasses all the sophisticated executive functions we rely on. So even if you perceive information, your ability to comprehend its meaning or project consequences becomes severely compromised. Why? Because the very parts of your brain responsible for those higher level tasks are effectively offline. This can lead to total paralysis by fear, or maybe aimless struggle, or just completely irrational, uncoordinated behavior. It fundamentally compromises all three levels of situational awareness. Furthermore, the source notes that even at heart rates above about 115 BPM, fine motor skills start to deteriorate, and they become severely impaired around a 145 BPM. Understanding these physiological thresholds and responses isn't just academic, it's a critical insight into human limitations under extreme stress. And it profoundly underscores the importance of stress inoculation training, practicing skills below those critical heart rate thresholds, learning to manage our physiological responses so we can maintain cognitive function when it matters most.
Okay, we've laid bare the saboteurs, the things that can dim our internal radar from external noise to our own mental states and physical limits. Now let's pivot. Let's arm you with the ultimate toolkit to not just turn that radar up, but to make sure you're perceiving, comprehending, and projecting with maximum clarity and effectiveness. And remember, this isn't a destination. It's not a point you reach and then you're done. It's a continuous dynamic journey. Growth, adaptation, refinement. Think of these not as one-time fixes, but as lifelong practices for achieving mastery.
What's truly foundational here, the starting point really, is recognizing that situational awareness isn't a static state you achieve. It is, by its very nature, a dynamic, active process. It absolutely requires continuous effort, continuous learning, and constant adaptation. I mean, the environments we operate in our workplaces, our homes, public spaces, they're relentlessly evolving. And so are the potential threats and just the sheer volume of information coming at us. Our sources put this beautifully. Dominar las CIES no es un destino, es un viaje continuo de aprendizaje y adaptación. Requiere vigilancia, la capacidad de procesar información rápidamente y la sabiduría para actuar. Which means mastering SA isn't a destination, it's a continuous journey of learning and adaptation. It requires vigilance, the capacity to process information rapidly, and the wisdom to act. This continuous vigilance, it's the constant vital fuel that helps us manage our cognitive load, filter out that relentless stream of distractions we just talked about, and keep our perception sharp.
That's a powerful way to frame it, actually. It means every single day is an opportunity, isn't it? An opportunity to fine-tune your awareness, to be more present, to consciously engage with your environment, continually refining and updating those mental models based on new information, new experiences. It's about consciously striving to keep that mental windshield meticulously clean, moment by moment. It's not about achieving some perfect state and then just relaxing. No, it's about the ongoing, deliberate process of staying sharp, alert, and adaptable. It's really a commitment to lifelong cognitive fitness. Hashtag 3.2. Practical tools for individual mastery. Okay, let's unpack one of the most powerful models out there for rapid adaptive decision-making, especially when you're under pressure. The ODA loop. It was developed by military strategist John Boyd, and it's not linear, it's a continuous accelerating cycle. It starts with observe. That's where you collect raw data through all your senses, just like level 1 SA. Then you orient. This is maybe the most crucial phase. You process and interpret that information.
You frame it within your existing mental models, your experience, and critically, you have to confront your own biases here. Next, you decide. You choose the best course of action, projecting future outcomes based on how you've oriented yourself. Finally, you act. Execute that decision. But here's the key. The loop immediately restarts. You observe the impact of your action. You reorient to the new reality. Decide again. Act again. It keeps cycling.
And what's truly fascinating here, and often misunderstood about Odo, is that the orient phase isn't just a passive processing step. It's the real engine room of the loop. It's where your mental models, your entire life's experience, your cultural background, even your unconscious biases, they profoundly influence how you interpret what you just observed. Boyd argued that the ability to orient rapidly and accurately is what truly separates high performers in dynamic, chaotic environments. The source material emphasizes that the key is to be agile, to cycle through these stages faster than a potential threat or maybe a competitor. This whole concept of getting inside the opponent's ODA loop, it means you're acting on information before they can even fully orient to your last move. This agility isn't just for battlefields, though. It can make all the difference in a crisis negotiation, a rapidly changing market situation, or even navigating a complex medical emergency. It enables you to make decisions even with incomplete information because your refined orientation guides your most educated guess.
Let's try a quick non-military example maybe. Imagine you're a project manager. A key software deployment suddenly hits a major unexpected bug. Everything stops. Okay, observe. You get the alert. Team members are panicking in the chat. You see error messages, server logs, frantic messages flying around. Orient. You quickly categorize this. Okay, this isn't minor. It's a showstopper. It looks like that integration layer issue we had last year. You also immediately think about the client's looming deadline, the potential reputation damage. You filter out the panic noise and focus on the core technical problem and the business impact. Decide. You choose to immediately halt the deployment, roll back to the previous stable version, convene an emergency technical huddle, and simultaneously draft a quick holding statement for the anxious client. Act. You execute those steps and boom, you immediately observe the results of the rollback. You gauge the tone of the huddle. You see the client's reaction to your statement, and the cycle continues. Faster each time. That rapid iteration, that constant reorientation is what keeps you agile and in control. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, and it ties directly back to fighting those insects on the windshield we talked about. Practicing mindfulness. Maintaining that present moment focus on the task at hand, on your immediate environment. It's a direct, incredibly powerful tool to combat both internal and external distractions. I mean, if your mind is constantly stuck on yesterday's argument or worrying about tomorrow's deadline or just passively reacting to that endless stream of phone notifications, you are fundamentally not truly perceiving the real-time risks or opportunities or subtle nuances around you. Your mental windshield is just perpetually smeared.
Exactly. Mindfulness helps to actively clean that mental windshield. It allows for clearer, more accurate, and less biased perception. It enhances your innate capacity for attention. It enables you to actively filter out irrelevant noise and focus intensely on the stimuli that actually matter. Our sources highlight that mindfulness is a direct tool to combat these distractions. It empowers you to remain profoundly present and concentrated on the current task and your immediate surroundings. It's about being fully here and now, which, when you really think about it, is the absolute bedrock of level 1 perception, isn't it? It's not just some meditative practice detached from reality. It's a cognitive skill. It actively improves your ability to gather accurate data by enhancing your attentional control. Even dedicating just a few minutes a day to a simple mindfulness exercise, like focusing on your breath, can significantly improve your ability to concentrate and be present when it truly counts. It makes you less susceptible to both that internal mental chatter and those external interruptions. Hashtag 3.2.3. Scenario planning and pattern recognition.
This brings us to another really powerful strategy for enhancing SA, especially up at that third level, projection. Scenario planning and pattern recognition. Think of this as developing a highly adaptive mental playbook for different situations. Scenario planning involves proactively visualizing possible future situations or challenges. For instance, in security, if a fire alarm goes off. Have you already mentally rehearsed not just one response, but maybe 3 or 4 possible responses, depending on the context? Like, is it a false alarm? Is it an actual fire in Zone C? Could it be a diversionary tactic for something else? That's scenario planning. It helps you develop contingency plans and preempt actions before you need them, buying you precious time. And then there's pattern recognition. That's the hallmark of an experienced pro, right? Someone who, through years of observation and comprehension, they see a subtle shift in a person's behavior or a recurring sequence of events or maybe an unusual configuration in the environment. And they intuitively understand its potential implications way before anyone else does.
Yeah, the source material strongly underlines that scenario planning is a proactive technique. It directly supports and really strengthens that projection phase of SA. By mentally rehearsing different what-if situations, you're just not caught off guard as easily. You've already mentally charted potential courses of action. That reduces your reaction time and your cognitive load in a real crisis. And with time, with extensive experience, we learn to identify these sequences of events or behaviors or environmental setups that reliably indicate something significant is about to happen or maybe is already unfolding. This innate recognition of patterns, which often feels like intuition, is actually highly refined situational awareness. It's built over time. It profoundly enhances your projection capabilities because it allows you to quickly give meaning to observed information and anticipate what might happen next. Not just based on pure logic, but on a vast internal database of past experiences. It basically converts raw experience into actionable foresight. For example, a seasoned paramedic might walk into a scene and immediately recognize the pattern of a specific type of medical emergency. That allows them to instantly bypass some initial diagnostic steps and jump directly to critical interventions. Why? Because their brain has seen this pattern before and knows its likely trajectory.
So what does this all mean when we move beyond just the individual? Because situational awareness isn't solely an individual thing, is it? It is profoundly, vitally, also a collective endeavor, a team sport almost. In any team setting, whether it's a security squad, a flight crew, a surgical team, maybe even a family managing a busy household schedule, effective, clear, proactive communication is the absolute bedrock. Actively sharing information, exchanging different perspectives, really listening intently to what others perceive even less experienced team members are all crucial for building a strong, shared, situational awareness within that team. It means everyone's individual radar contributes to a much bigger, more robust, and usually more accurate collective picture.
What's truly fascinating here is how the deliberate act of resolving discrepancies, when two people see things differently through open dialogue, actively strengthens this collective understanding. The sources give this excellent, almost military-like directive that's applicable everywhere. Cuando haya una dificultad, el primero que la vea, que la anuncie. Basically, when there is a difficulty, the first person who sees it must announce it immediately. This emphasis on open communication, on immediate information sharing, ensures that if one person spots a small insect on the windshield that another team member missed, that critical piece of information is instantly brought to the collective attention. No hesitation. This collaborative approach validates individual understanding, yes, but it also allows different perspectives to refine the overall picture. And most importantly, it avoids critical blind spots that could endanger the whole team or the mission. A team with strong shared situational awareness operates like a cohesive anticipatory unit, rather than just a collection of individuals reacting in isolation.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, and something that's often overlooked, I think, in discussions about peak performance. Resilience. Resilience, basically, is your mental, physical, emotional, and behavioral capacity to effectively cope with adversity, to adapt swiftly to change, to recover quickly from setbacks, and critically, to learn and actually grow from those challenging experiences. This is absolutely fundamental to maintaining your situational awareness, especially when you're under immense pressure, when the stakes are incredibly high, and when everything seems to be going wrong at once. In those high-stress situations, your ability to quickly reset yourself, to regain control over your thoughts and emotions, it directly impacts your ability to perceive clearly, comprehend accurately, and project effectively. I mean, if you're mentally or emotionally unraveling, your essay is going to be the first casualty, right?
Absolutely. And the source material clearly emphasizes that resilience isn't just some vague character trait you either have or don't. It encompasses concrete, actionable components. Firstly, self-awareness. The ability to analyze your own thoughts and emotions, understand where they're coming from and how they're impacting your performance. Secondly, self-regulation. That's the capacity to manage your impulses, manage your emotions, allowing you to adapt your behavior to match your objectives, even when you're under duress. And thirdly, and this is crucial, physical resilience, which includes fitness, proper nutrition, and critically getting adequate sleep. The source actually describes this as the performance triad: activity, nutrition, and sleep. This triad is absolutely crucial for maintaining both mental and physical fitness. It enables you to better endure stress and, perhaps even more importantly, recover effectively from its debilitating effects afterwards. Being in good physical condition doesn't just make you physically stronger. It delays the onset of fatigue, it increases your capacity to tolerate stress, and it directly supports your cognitive functions when you need them most. It ensures your essay remains robust, even in the most challenging environments.
Okay, we've really explored the what, the why, and the how of situational awareness now. We've defined it, broken down its components, armed ourselves with some powerful strategies to cultivate it. Now, let's bring it all together. How does this deep understanding of SA actually apply to the real-world scenarios you encounter every single day? How does it make a tangible, measurable difference in your life, your work, your overall safety? Hashtag 4.1. Mastering the physical environment.
What's profoundly important here, I think, is understanding that solid situational awareness in your physical environment isn't just about protecting yourself. It actively extends to safeguarding the people and the valuable assets under your care or responsibility. And this goes way beyond just a quick glance around. It involves active, continuous observation of your immediate surroundings, scrutinizing the equipment you rely on, noting the layout of the space, observing the flow of people, and instantly registering any changes or anomalies, anything different. It demands a constant, proactive assessment of potential risks, identifying trip hazards like a misplaced cable, maybe some exposed wiring, non-standard elements like excessive noise or extreme temperatures that could impact performance or safety, even subtle changes in lighting. It requires a thorough awareness of your tools and making sure they're functioning properly, maintaining order and cleanliness in your workspace, adhering strictly to clear boundaries and signage. Even ergonomics, making sure your environment is optimally adapted to your physical needs, plays a crucial, often underestimated role. It helps prevent distractions and physical strain that can significantly degrade your overall essay.
Absolutely. It's about having this holistic understanding of your physical domain, isn't it? From instinctively knowing exactly where the emergency power cutoffs are, to instantly noticing a misplaced or frayed cable on the floor, to truly understanding the subtle impact that excessive noise or unexpected temperature swings can have on your own performance and focus. Your situational awareness in the physical environment is all about proactively identifying, assessing, and mitigating risks. It's about ensuring safety not just for yourself, but for everyone who shares that space with you. You're constantly scanning, looking for anything that's out of place, not just for overt danger, but also for adherence to procedures, for safe operating conditions, for anything that could potentially evolve into a problem down the line. It's like having a constant, detailed dialogue with your surroundings. Hashtag 4.2. Navigating human interactions.
This raises an important question then. How do we extend this sophisticated situational awareness to the inherently unpredictable, profoundly complex realm of human interaction? This dimension of essay requires a diligent, really nuanced observation of behaviors, not just what people do, but how they do it. This includes interpreting body language, noticing actions that seem unusual for that specific context, picking up on subtle emotional cues. The source explicitly mentions that los comportamientos observables pueden darnos indicios sobre el estado mental, motivos e intenciones de las personas, which means observable behaviors can give us indications about people's mental state, motives, and intentions. Oh, this acute perception helps you not only evaluate immediate intentions, but also anticipate likely reactions and motivations.
Right. So that nervous person we perceived earlier, the one whose behavior you comprehended might be a threat. Your heightened situational awareness now helps you read their nonverbal cues with greater accuracy. Understand if their behavior truly deviates from the norm for that specific context, and then strategically decide how best to communicate with them, or maybe about them, to your team effectively and professionally. And this also critically involves anticipating their reactions to your actions or words. That allows you to choose the most effective, the safest, maybe the most de-escalating response. Beyond just observation, strategic and impeccably clear communication is absolutely crucial, especially for seamless team coordination when dealing with complex human dynamics. It's about making sure everyone is literally on the same page, sharing their perceptions, and collectively building that shared understanding of the human element in any given situation. And when conflict inevitably arises, emotional intelligence becomes absolutely key. Managing your own emotions under pressure, trying to empathize with others' perspectives, and adapting your behavior accordingly, rather than just reacting impulsively.
Tech 4.3. High pressure and emergency scenarios.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it becomes abundantly clear that in those truly critical, high-pressure emergency moments, situational awareness is not merely beneficial, it is an absolute prerequisite. A prerequisite for rapid, effective, and crucially correct decision-making. The stakes are at their absolute highest, the margin for error is drastically reduced, and the environment is often fast-paced, chaotic, and incredibly stressful. Our sources really underscore this point. La acidez es un requisito previo para la toma de decisiones oportuna y correcta en entornos operativos rápidos y altamente estresantes. Este is a prerequisite for timely and correct decision-making in fast-paced and highly stressful operational environments. Experience plays a vital role here, of course. It helps convert that refined perception and comprehension into almost instinctive action. It enables swift, appropriate responses even when information is incomplete, because experts can identify patterns and adapt to novel situations far more rapidly. They draw on this vast mental library of past scenarios.
This is truly where all three levels of situational awareness work in overdrive, isn't it? In perfect, almost instantaneous synergy. If a major alarm sounds, you're not just reacting with a jolt. You're simultaneously perceiving the immediate emergency situation with heightened clarity, rapidly comprehending the potential threat based on your deep experience and those refined mental models, and then dynamically projecting multiple what-if scenarios, not just one, but several, to swiftly select the optimal course of action from that pre-rehearsed mental playbook. This is the essence of what some call the three solutions approach. Having pre-visualized, practiced responses ready for various contingencies, so you're never caught flat-footed with just one option that might not fit. Training under pressure, often through realistic simulations and drills, is absolutely vital here. It kind of inoculates you against the debilitating effects of acute stress and fatigue. It allows you to maintain concentration, refine your decision-making capabilities, and transform those natural physiological responses to danger into a powerful catalyst for superior performance, rather than letting them become a hindrance. Hashtag outro. Wow, we've really taken a deep dive today, haven't we? Into the multifaceted world of situational awareness. We've meticulously explored its three crucial hierarchical levels: perception, comprehension, and projection. Understanding how they build on each other to create that robust understanding of any environment. We've unmasked those insidious distractions, the dangerous biases of our own minds, and the physiological stressors that constantly try to trip us up, those silent saboteurs that can blur and diminish our internal radar. And critically, we've loaded up your toolkit with powerful, actionable strategies, from the agile, dynamic OODA loop for rapid decision-making to the grounding power of mindfulness for enhanced presence. The foresight of scenario planning and pattern recognition, the collective strength you get from teamwork and open communication, and the absolutely crucial practice of resilience, mental, physical, and emotional. This deep dive into the source material shows us unequivocally that situational awareness isn't just some concept to study. It's a vital living practice, a continuous journey of self-mastery that touches every single aspect of your life.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, mastering situational awareness isn't just about external vigilance, scanning the horizon for potential threats. It's profoundly, deeply about internal vigilance as well. It's about being as acutely aware of your own mind, its inherent biases, its cognitive limits, its incredible resilience, and its vast untapped potential as you are of your external environment. This continuous process of self-knowledge Active observation and relentless adaptation, that is your ultimate defense. It's your most powerful tool. And it's your clearest pathway to truly operating with certeza y seguridad, with certainty and security, rather than just suponiendo or creyendo, just supposing or believing. It's really about ensuring your internal landscape is as clear, as well understood, and as actively managed as the world outside your skin.
So your challenge for this week, if you choose to accept it, is this. Start noticing, really noticing. Observe your environment actively, with intention. Engage all your senses. Question your assumptions. Question your mental models. Ask yourself why you think something is happening the way it is, and actively reflect on what you perceive, what you comprehend from it, and what you then project as the most likely next steps. Maybe practice mindfulness, even for just a few minutes each day, to help clear that mental windshield. Continuously learn, continuously adapt, and crucially, share your observations and perceptions with others to build that collective awareness if you're in a team. Because as we've seen today, the sharper your situational awareness, the safer you become, the more effective you become, the more confident, and ultimately, the more in control you become. Keep those mental windshields clean, folks, because your life and potentially the lives of others really do depend on it.